The thing I like about this program is we do so much active music making from the time the students come into the program to the time they're off on their own, that they start to understand those relationships, and they understand how music is really a metaphor. How you're making music with another person in the music is so much of a metaphor for things that happen outside of the music. And so that's how they start to understand why music therapy is effective. And that's what makes them excited.
We all feel a connection. I think a lot of it has to do with the people that are there. There's something special about the woods.
When I came to the woods as a student 31 years ago, there was no music therapy major. And so I was a music major and a drama major, double major. And that just didn't work out so well with my crazy life. And finally one day I went to Sister Lorette and I said, I had observed this friend of mine as a musician working with some special needs kids just informally. And I had said, there has to be a profession here. And she said, oh, there is, honey, and it's called music therapy, and we're starting a program.
I taught at St. Mary of the Woods College for 39 years, and always in the music department and the chair most of that time.
Sister Lorette's the one that got this whole thing going.
And she wasn't even a music therapist.
That's right.
That's really interesting.
That's right. And she took 7 years to research what kind of music therapy program this should be, and to make the case for the fact that it fit with the mission of the sisters. And she actually, Sister Jean Nerley was the president, and Sister Jean Nerley said, go for it, and you figure out a way to do this, because music therapy is a perfect fit with the college's mission and also with the mission of the sisters.
Many, many years before we got the program started, there was a sister at St. Mary of the Woods College, Sister Mary Lord Mackey, who had some knowledge of music therapy before it was well known even as a practice. And she was very eager to look into it. Then there was also another sister, Sister Cecilia Ann Miller, who taught in the conservatory, who was very interested in using music as a tool to help people. So she was also interested in that aspect, not familiar with practices of music therapy, but interested in how she saw that she really could use music as a tool. So I decided to go to some schools that had this accreditation. One was New York University and the other was Temple in Philadelphia. So I went, and at New York University I met a person named Barbara Hesser, who I guess she thought she was going to talk to me for about 10 minutes, I having come from Indiana. So she said, well, let's go and have a cup of coffee around the corner. Well, 3 hours later, she had told me really so many things that I wanted to know, and pitfalls to look for, these sorts of things. And from there I went to Philadelphia and I talked to Ken Bruscia, and I got a lot of help from him as well. So then we were really on our way.
They come in, they're so young, and they just don't even know really what music therapy is. They just know they like music, they like to help people. That's always what I hear. They're learning the technique of how to play an instrument, but they're learning how to use it in facilitating or creating a group experience, or how to connect with people. And I think it's through understanding and experiencing those things themselves in classes or in their practicum, they start to realize how it affects them, and how making music with other people draws insights for them, and they start to learn about themselves through the actual process of learning about music therapy and about music. And they literally transform into like the better version of themselves. And to watch them, on the other side of the program is just so gratifying.
I think that my first initial response to trying to explain to someone why it would be the best decision of their life to come and study music therapy at St. Mary of the Woods College, one is the education that you'll receive. Getting taught by Sharon Boyle and Tracy Richardson, and all of these professors that we get to study under are brilliant and amazing, and not only are incredible educators, but fantastic people in general. They care so much about each and every student.
One special thing about our program is that we get to do practicum experiences on site with clinical supervisors throughout our entire undergraduate career.
Sister Lorette knew that students would have to have clinical placements. So she went out and talked to doctors, people who were administrators in nursing homes and in the schools to see if they would buy in and if they would have our students on their sites. Our program provides such a great link to the wider Terre Haute and Wabash Valley community because our students are out there working with people who have needs, and we're providing music therapy services for them. When that facility says, oh, here's another St. Mary of the Woods student coming in to do music therapy with our clientele, that looks good for the Woods, you know? And again, that's playing out the mission of the sisters and of the college too. I started teaching here in 1995, and Sister Lorette is the one who brought me back to teach. After I'd been here a couple of years, she said, Tracy, what do you think about starting a master's program? And I said, I don't think I can do that. And she said, I think we can do that. I think it's a good fit. I think it's a logical progression of what we've been doing. I said, well, Lorette, what would this program look like? And she said, well, if you were going to start a master's program as a student, what would you want it to look like? And I said, oh, well, if you're asking me that, that's easy. I would want to study improvisation with Alan Turry or somebody from Nordhoff Robbins. I would want to study music psychotherapy with Barbara Hesser because she's well known for music psychotherapy. I would love to study world music with Joe Moreno or somebody like that. And I said, so I would have this really cool program where we would bring in experts to teach these different classes. And she said, oh, that sounds good, honey, create that. Or something like that. and I said, it'll never fly, you know, this will never happen. These people will never come here to teach. And she said, you don't know that until you try. Then I started asking people, and they were like, yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. I think I'll do that. And I just was blown away, and I'm still blown away 13 years later.
And basically our philosophy in starting the program was we wanted to create a program that was for working music therapists who lived anywhere in the United States and in fact across the world, so that they would not have to quit their jobs to go to graduate school.
That's what draws people to it, the fact that we have experts teaching some of these classes, and people can do it from anywhere. They live all over.
You know, it's funny, when I first came to the Woods and, you know, I knew that they had this master's program, I just thought, how can you have any sense of community or feel like you're part of anything if you're just like flying in, do this class, you leave, and you do it the rest of the semester? I think it was 2004 I took my first class, which was the improv class with Alan Turry, and I was blown away. It like completely transformed my way of thinking about music therapy, about using music and how to use music. And I mean, he's just such an amazing teacher, and I learned so much. Really, it was the whole idea of taking you from where you are and moving you up to another level.
I chose St. Mary of the Woods College because it is a distance learning program. So far, my experience with the faculty and my fellow cohort has been amazing. The faculty is very approachable. Everyone, really, their concern is your education and being supportive in trying to make sure that you are getting the best education possible at your own pace. I feel very connected to my cohort. There's about 8 of us in our class, and we're through the use of technology, we're able to stay connected every single day. And the support that I feel from my classmates and from the staff here is enormous, and I'm very grateful for it.
We were just developing the master's program, so people were beginning to hear that St. Mary of the Woods is going to do a distance music therapy program. There were people thinking I can become a music therapist in this program, which was not the case at the time. But, you know, it got me thinking, okay, there's nothing out there. There's no distance program for a person who wants to become a music therapist. It doesn't exist. I created a program as we went through those years. It took 12, 13 years, and it really took until, 2010 or so until it started to take shape, because then we had the technology to really support it. And so in the fall of 2012, we brought in our first class of 14 music therapy equivalency distance students.
Having been a student in the master's program, I didn't hesitate to come back to the woods to teach. So when I started, my initial role was to help coordinate the clinical placements for students. But then as the program has grown, our roles have changed, and so now I coordinate the MTED program. The other piece that's unique with the MTED program exclusively is the faculty. Most of the faculty teaching in the program have been students of the master's program. So we understand what it's like to be in a distance learning program and can relate to the challenges that some of our students might face.
I think that our program also is one of the top programs. We certainly have been one of the most creative programs.
And it has such a tremendous reputation, and Tracy has such a tremendous reputation. And the one thing that people always say is, that she was so supportive, and that, they couldn't have gotten through it without her. And so I just think that's really awesome. They come together and they make music, and I think that's where the community comes in. Yeah. They feel connected to this place and each other because they get to make music together.
Yes, it's a small school, but it has a huge heart, and you become a part of that when you're here, almost instantaneously.
They just kind of become part of that Woods family.
Yeah, they do.
And I think they feel that from the very first time they come.
They're here, they are like dry sponges. They soak each other up while they're here, making music, talking, playing, going out and making a late night steak and shake run or whatever,
Yeah.
They just really enjoy each other. I don't know, I think students pick up on the warmth and the relationship, and we want to model that. I mean, personally, I really want to model that for students. I want students to see that their faculty have good relationships with each other.
I think there's genuineness too, and I think that's something that each of us value. So I think the fact that we can feel that and we experience that just trickles down and spreads, and that genuine, authentic part of what we do and who we are moves into everything that we do.
And the compassion. And I think that the students can see the connection that we have, and I hope that they can then feel a part of that, and that they can take that out into the world and offer it to others.
The students who say, You know, I was really thinking about getting out of music therapy, but I thought I'm going to do this master's program and see where it takes me. And then they have this class and they say, this transformed me. It made me a different person, not just a different musician, not just a different music therapist, but this experience made me a different person. And that's what keeps me going. Those kinds of things, what the students say, and all the people that are involved in it, and that it's a well-respected program. People talk about it. That's what the Woods does best. I think that's what we've always done best, is we meet people where they are.
I think that for the students coming in, that they, at least I hope that they immediately feel that connection that we all have, and the connection to the history of the Woods, and to all those that have been there before them. Everyone leaves a mark.
None of these programs would exist without the Sisters of Providence, and yeah, never underestimate a Sister of Providence. There's a thread that runs through, and I think that thread is commitment and mission.
Everyone here understands it and understands that tradition and that history and that culture, and I think believes in that.
They understand that there's something special about coming to the Woods and feeling a connection. You hear it all the time to those who have been here before.
That's it, that piece of them that's inside of us, that we're carrying on that mission.
And it's something I say every time a residency comes, and I say it to the undergraduate students. We're in room 300 of the conservatory. And I always say, even though you don't see everyone else from these other programs in music therapy, they've all been in here and they've all made music in here. So I really believe that we imprint ourselves on the places that we are and on the instruments that we play. And so in effect, you are part of this bigger picture, and that when you're in this room and you're making music together, just know all the people that have done this before you and who will do it after you. And I think it just kind of gives them a sense of such a connection and continuity and tradition.